As always, Ted, kick us off. Who do you have as your winner of the week?
Got to go with OU baseball, which, by the way, they've got final home series of the season this weekend. Baylor coming to town. Going to be senior night and all that stuff on Sunday, so that'll be very cool. Make sure you get out and watch those guys. But got some interesting news. Eli Willits, the youngest son of Reggie Willits, one of the coaches at OU, he's committed to Oklahoma, and he's one of the top like 2 or 3 prospects in the 26 recruiting class. He has reclassified, and he is going to enter the 25 class. So getting him a year earlier is big time. Shortstop, just an incredible athlete, incredible prospect. Now, a lot of people have theorized like he can either come to OU or probably be a very high first round draft pick for going to the big. So, I mean, I still think it's probably a better than not chance that he comes to Oklahoma and comes early, but I guess you still have to keep in the back of your head that he could go to the draft. But apparently an incredible player, and it would be nice to have him a year early as we go into the SEC.
I just want to make sure people realize what just took place here. I believe this is a historic moment in the history of the podcast. First time we've ever discussed baseball recruiting.
You guys or football guys talking baseball recruiting. New section.
I think this is a historic moment in the history of the Oklahoma breakdown, but that would be massive. We all know how big SEC baseball is, and you can never have too many talented guys on your team. And clearly, we all know Coach Willits and how much he's meant to the program and to Skip Johnson and all those things. So, yeah, that would be awfully nice if his incredibly talented son could get there a year early.
Yeah. And, Jackson, who's starting shortstop right now, he's really come alive the back half of the season. He's playing some good ball. So, yeah, that would be big time. I got to say, like, it would be awesome to be drafted and be able to, right out of high school, to go play Major League Baseball. But the opportunity to go play with your brother, with your dad in the SEC, that sounds a little bit better than minor leagues to me. But, I'm a bit biased.
Could it be a Bobby Witt Jr. situation though, where it's just one where you go, the guy's too good, he's got to go? Or could it be like that? Or is it do you feel better about the chances of him being in an OU uniform?
Disclaimer. I know nothing about this situation. Okay. Like, this is outside of my realm, but I feel better because his brother is there and he gets an opportunity to go play for his dad, who obviously had a great major league career, has coached in the bigs. That's a once in a lifetime opportunity. And that has to be something, as, a young boy who probably holds his dad in super high regard. The opportunity to go play for him, it's a rare situation, and that's why I feel a little bit better that he's reclassifying to come to OU. But I mean, it is one of those situations where it's like, dang it, but congratulations and good luck if it does happen that way.
Well, fingers crossed. I definitely could use him year one in the SEC. So we'll see how that goes. But Ted, look at you just digging deep on baseball. You're all in on baseball right now.
I am.
I feel like this is as in as I've ever felt you being when it comes to the baseball team.
It is. It is.
You're invested emotionally.
I'm invested, and I'm enjoying it. This is going to be a fun season for those guys. It's never easy, and it's come together in a really good way so far. Hopefully it continues.
Who do you have as your loser of the week?
I had to go with Rashee Rice. I mean, he is a magnet for trouble right now. Everyone remembers I don't know, I guess it was a street race with the Lamborghini SUV, which is a horrible decision and is alone racing the Corvette through the streets of Dallas. That whole situation, which came with a bunch of charges, I think 3 or 4 different charges and like big charges. And he's out on bond on those. And Sunday night / Monday morning got in another incident in Dallas while he's out on bond. I guess punched a photographer or journalist or something at a nightclub. And
Allegedly.
And uh, who knows what comes from that? But there's an investigation there, and if they can link him to that directly, I mean, and he gets charged, there's a good chance that perhaps he loses his bond on the stuff that he's out on, which the charges that came from the crash are serious, and he's facing like legit jail time for that situation. I mean, he's cut loose a little too much in the offseason after a big rookie year.
He is entering what I like to call can't get right territory.
Yep.
What is he doing, man? He was so pivotal for their success in the playoffs. It felt like he had elevated himself to wide receiver 1 for them. And you're just going to throw it all away? I just don't understand it, man. Especially the street racing thing is incredibly dumb. But with that going on, you would think he would be on his best behavior.
Yeah.
And you go and get in trouble again? I mean, really?
Yeah, and there's a couple of civil suits that are also coming out of that wreck, which financially, forget about the fact that you wrecked a Lamborghini and your Corvette, a nice little 2-for-1 there. And then all the money that's perhaps maybe going to come out of the civil situation. This is costing him a ton of money. And at the same time, you're getting awfully close to severing your only opportunity to make the amount of money that may be able to dig you out of this hole. Not good right now.
And they draft Xavier Worthy in the first round.
Yeah. Yep.
So it may be to the point. I don't know. The Chiefs organization is very well run. As long as they got Mahomes, they're going to be in it. He may just be more trouble than he's worth now. I mean, and I'm sure you'd have to take a deep dive into his contract, but this feels like contract detrimental behavior.
Yeah. Yes. Especially if his bond gets revoked and like, hey, I can't make it to minicamp. I'm in jail. That seems pretty detrimental to your team. So yeah, it's a bad situation. At the end of the day, enough damage has happened here. Just you got to slow down, reevaluate, start making some good decisions, because like I don't think anyone wants to see a young man as talented as he is, spin off the rails. And it feels like as a lot of bad things start to happen, unfortunately, you feel like it usually accelerates the poor decision making instead of slows it down.
Right. Hopefully he figures it out, man. It has been quite the offseason for him. All right, let's get to my winner and loser. But first, attention business owners, you need Insurica in your life. Insurica is one of the country's largest insurance brokers with 30 offices throughout Oklahoma, Texas, and the Southwest. Insurica is able to customize programs by accessing the latest information from many insurance carriers. They compare and contrast coverage offerings and pricing in order to design a cost-effective, comprehensive program to meet your business's specific needs. If your business partners with Insurica, you'll save huge amounts of money and take back control of your cost of risk. If your business wants to be best in class, connect with Insurica at insurica.com. That's INSURICA.com.
And head to opolisclothing.com for our podcast merchandise and the best OU gear out there. That's OPOLIS clothing.com and use promo code TED, TED, for 10% off. That's opolisclothing.com. Use promo code TED for 10% off. Buttery soft and 10% off.
For my winner of the week, thought about going with the old Live Golf Tour. Ted, how about our guy Talor Gooch getting the special invitation to play in the PGA Championship next week?
I love it. I love it. Go win some money. Go win some money. That's a good deal.
And I could be wrong, but it feels like he's the first guy who has gotten a major invite solely based on what he's done on the Live Golf Tour. So here's where I'm at with it. When it comes to the majors, give me all the best guys.
Yep.
That's what we all want to see. Gooch is playing some really good golf. That's what we all want to see. We all just we want to see the best guys go at it in the 4 big events each year. I don't really care where they're playing. Just give me the best guys. That's what I want to watch as a golf fan.
Yeah. And I know different people have their different opinions of Live Golf and PGA and how all that stuff should be handled. But I think there's at least you can recognize that if you're winning on the Live Golf Tour, you at least deserve an opportunity to play in the majors. The ranking stuff is all, I don't know that there's an easy answer to it all, but I think we can recognize that the Live Golf Tour is good enough to where if you're having success there, it should land you an invite in a major.
Yeah. So I'm excited to see how that goes. Valhalla. What an awesome name for a golf course. That should be fun. So that's coming up next week. But my winner of the week, the Minnesota Timberwolves. My goodness.
Right.
They dismantled the Denver Nuggets in game 2 to take a 2-0 lead. They held Denver to 80. 106 to 80. Now, Denver shot it poorly, sure. But Minnesota is playing some of the best defense we've seen in quite some time. They did it without Rudy Gobert, who's the defensive player of the year in the league. That game, it was the second quarter, Ted. I turned to my wife and I said, this thing is over. She looked at me and said, what do you mean it's the NBA? They can come back. I said, no. Denver is having to work entirely too hard to get any good shots. Minnesota's getting whatever they want on the offensive end. This thing is over. I'm hoping Denver can make it an interesting series, Ted, but Minnesota has looked head and shoulders like the best team in the NBA these first couple games against the Nuggets. It's been so impressive.
Yeah, I test the first 2 games tells you, all right, what are we even talking about here? Minnesota is going to cruise. And it feels like, well, everyone's going to like flip to that side. And then, Denver's going to claw their way back. And it's like, how dumb were we? Of course, Denver is going to come back and win this thing. But man, the way those first 2 games went, and now you got to win 4 out of 5 with 3 of them on the road, 3 of the 5 on the road. It is a very tall ask, and forget that's just what the odds and the numbers say. Forget what it's looked like on the court, because that's probably the worst part of all of it.
It has been a perfect mix for Minnesota. Their stars have been stars. Anthony Edwards has been great. Karl Anthony Towns has been really solid. You look at game 2, both of them 27 points. And then their role guys have been fantastic. Naz Reid looks like one of the best big men in the NBA currently. shooting the hell out of the ball, was a madman defensively in game 2. Nickeil Alexander-Walker is making Jamal Murray so upset that he's throwing stuff on the court. What was that? You're just firing
bad.
heat packs onto the court?
I don't know what he was trying to do with that, but I mean, that's another conversation. I don't think he was trying to throw it on the court. Maybe he was. I don't know, but I mean, I guess it's, unless I haven't seen it, it's not out of the realm of possibility that they may be missing him, right?
No, just a fine. I think
Just
they
a
fined
fine.
him like
Okay.
$100,000, which that's an expensive heat pack throw.
Yeah, it is.
But it does not sound like he's going to be suspended. But the combination of McDaniels and then Alexander Walker on Jamal Murray, and the fact that, yeah, the calf is still bugging him. I mean, it was another horrible shooting night for him in game 2, and the frustration is just starting to spill over. He completely lost his cool. I mean, he threw a towel also. The frustration is crazy. And Jokic in game 2, and I love watching Jokic play. I've watched a lot of him over the last couple of years. He is, the size and athleticism that Minnesota's got is giving him problems. You're the best player in the world, and you have 16 points in a playoff game when you're already down 0-1. That's just, I mean, it's clear that they are bothering him almost like we've never seen since he's become the player that he is, that they're bothering him as much as we've seen when he's on the offensive end. Man, it looks hopeless for the Denver Nuggets right now. And Anthony Edwards looks like the best player in the world. So
That
it's
was on the
not looking
road.
good. It's not looking good for the defending champs.
Yeah, and it's I imagine it's going to be insane whenever they tip that thing off in Minnesota with the crowd and everything. So I don't know how much of it is, obviously Minnesota is playing great. Matchup wise, it seems to not be in a very good favor for Denver, and I don't know it's a great favor for anyone with how big they are and athletic. But how much of it is Minnesota? How much of it is Denver just looking uninterested and just not playing well?
Uh, I think Minnesota deserves a lot of credit.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Denver missed a lot of shots in game 2, but they missed a lot of contested shots. Minnesota's doing a great, great job on the defensive end of the floor with the level of effort that they're playing with. And Denver they are at an athletic disadvantage, which is typically not where you want to be in a basketball game.
No. Shorter and less athletic.
Perfect.
Not a good combination.
The only last thing on that game, Rudy Gobert made the right choice, missed the game to be there for the birth of his first child, which I think is always the right choice. But Ted, did you see what happened 9 months ago from the day his child was born?
No.
He hit, I believe, his first 3 in a professional basketball game in a FIBA World Cup game.
Hey,
And the quote after the game from Rudy Gobert: "Tonight, I feel like I lost my virginity." Just unbelievable. And I went back to make sure that was a real quote, and it absolutely was.
wow, that is awesome.
It's fantastic. But yeah, the Minnesota Timberwolves look really good. All right, for my loser of the week, thought about going with the Miami Heat. No one was safe from Pat Riley in that end of the season presser. My goodness. I mean, what he said, Jimmy Butler should just keep his mouth shut talking about the other teams if he's not going to play. Basically said he needs to play in more games. Now, he did say no plans on trading him, but he absolutely, you just don't hear people talk about their star player like that. Pat Riley does not care. And then he was complimentary of Tyler Hero, said no one works harder, but then he also called him fragile, which, I mean, that's as bad of a word as someone could say about you if you're an athlete.
It really is.
It was, I mean, it was classic. But my loser of the week, give me Clemson football. Ted, the portal is closed. And I was looking at some of the transfer portal rankings because I was interested where did the Sooners stack up? I was just curious. OU's got the 17th ranked portal class. Okay, whatever. Ole Miss is number 1, Oregon's number 2, A&M's number 3, Bama's number 4. I think Texas was 5. And as I scrolled, I found myself wondering, wonder where Clemson's at. Not a great year last year. Went 4-4 in the ACC. Surely Dabo has changed his stance just a little bit and taken a few transfers to fill some holes coming off a meh season for them and what that program expects. So I kept scrolling and I kept scrolling. And then I started seeing logos I've never seen. And I kept scrolling some more. And I just kept scrolling because it turns out Clemson's dead last in the transfer portal rankings because they didn't take a single transfer. Not a transfer. 0. Right there with Army, Navy, and Air Force, who don't take transfers because they're academies. Transfer. Here are a couple schools I saw with transfers. Butler Community College, Texas Southern, Bowie State. Not familiar with Bowie State. Morgan State. These are logos that when you scroll that list, show up before Clemson's paw shows up.
It's wild. He's got his principles and he's sticking to them. Okay, there's something to be said for that. Now, I'm just curious what the fan base says, because it's one thing. It's one thing to say we're going to do it without going to the portal, and hey, go do it. It's, if you can pull it off, all the more impressive. But if you don't, and you're a fan, you have to feel like, to some degree, your head coach is purposely sabotaging the program, right?
Yes. Everyone, the top 5 programs in the transfer portal ranking: Ole Miss, Oregon, A&M, Bama, Texas. Those teams are all trying to win national titles. They're all going for it. The transfer portal rankings is a who's who of college football.
This is important too. I'm sure that all those coaches, they don't like the portal, right? They probably don't like what the portal is and what it's done to the sport to some degree. But if it's available and everyone's doing it and you don't, you're going to fall behind. I mean, there's a lot of that at play as well.
I'm with you. I respect the fact that he doesn't recruit over his guys. And I think that is a powerful tool for him when he goes out and recruits high school kids. But they had the 11th ranked recruiting class in 2024, the 11th ranked recruiting class in 2023, and the 10th ranked recruiting class in 2022. And if you don't use the portal to fill some holes, it puts an incredible pressure on you to have very few misses when it comes to your evaluations. And you just have to develop at a ridiculously high level.
And they've lost guys in the portal.
Correct.
I mean, you've had those recruiting classes, which are good, solid recruiting classes, but you don't have 100% retention. You've lost some players. You've lost some good players. 2 people on the top of that list. So disaster is coming. We saw it last year start to creep in a little bit with some of the questions he was faced with. They're going to be coming really fast and furious if they don't have a really big bounce back season.
I'm with you. Maybe they make the 12-team playoff and that's enough for that fan base. But I feel like at this point, they expect national title contention. And they're never going to be in true national title contention until they use the portal. They're just not. This whole thing with Dabo and his refusal to use the portal. Ted, is it weird that it just makes me appreciate Brent Venables and how he's kind of adjusted since he's arrived? Because he was clearly heavily influenced by Dabo Swinney and the way that he was running that program. But Venables got to OU and has kept going, hey, if we can make our roster better, we're going to do it. And I think that's the only way you can do it as a college football coach when you're trying to win at the highest level.
Yeah. Well, it's easy to adapt, or rather, it's easy to cling to these principles that you've got and not change whenever you've got a couple of national championships in your back pocket and you make $10 million a year. Right. It's a little bit easier. If you're in Brent Venables' situation, first time head coach, you got to win games. And people are not going to care about, like you're pounding the table about what you wish college football was. It is what it is at this point, and you've got to adapt and win some games. I mean, that's just kind of how it is.
Yeah. So I don't think Clemson, and I know they've got the whole other, are they going to continue to be in the ACC? What's the future of the program look like? That whole thing going on. But I just don't think they are going to be able to compete for a national title doing it the way that they're doing it. I just don't. So I don't know how that makes Clemson fans feel. I would assume not great, but I guess I appreciate Dabo's consistency. I don't know, but it's really strange. It's really strange that he continues to just outright refuse to use the portal.
Yeah, and there becomes a point where you've dug in so hard and for so long. Now, any change in your approach is like a very massive and public admittance of being wrong, right? And it's like that becomes more difficult as you go along. We'll see if he changes.
Maybe his thought process is, hey, I can keep my staff together if I just tell them, hey, you don't have to do any of the portal stuff. All you got to
Right.
do is recruit high school.
I wonder
don't
what
know.
the staff honestly thinks about it, though.
I would think they like that mostly, but no one knows quicker than the position coaches when it comes to knowing if they need an upgrade or not. And I guarantee you there are some coaches that are going, oh my gosh, I've got to play Jimmy. Oh no.
Yeah.
Like it's hard to be, it's hard to just nail every evaluation of a high school kid. It's
Yeah.
really, really hard.
And and I would agree that the transfer portal gives position coaches a bailout instead of keep trying new ways and different ways to squeeze the most out of the players that they recruited and brought on. I understand that, and that's probably the best way to develop your guys. But the problem is, again, if they weren't losing anyone, it would be a totally different story. But they've lost players, and they've lost good players, and you can't just bring in guys, evaluate, lose them, and not have the ability to try and replace. I mean, it's just you're going to lose too much talent that way.